Hey guys, welcome back to another episode on Dodefy. So today I'm just going to talk about the mock interviews that Springboard offers, and it's the last thing that you have to do before graduating from Springboard. So there's this policy that Springboard has that if you don't pass these interviews within 3 tries, then you're not eligible to do the job guarantee. So they eliminate that. So it could be pretty stressful, especially if you fail it like once. Then after that, it just becomes more stressful and more difficult. So I'm gonna talk about the three ones: the whiteboard challenge, the portfolio walkthrough, and the behavioral interviews. So the behavior is non-technical, and the other ones are technical. That's what they consider it, Springboard. So these are going to be the interviews that are going to be uh, implemented when you go and apply for a job as a UX and UI designer or product designer. If you go out there, they might require you to do any of these. That way, that is why Springboard wants to prepare you for your future interview jobs. So yeah, let's go on with it. So let's talk about the first one. So the whiteboard challenge. So the whiteboard challenge, I would say it was pretty difficult because I never actually done a whiteboard challenge before, and it's a lot of thinking in the spot, and you have to provide designs. So you have to ideate based on like what the problem that they give you. So first you have to define a lot. You have to know what the business problem is, what the goals are, what helps you ideate. So me, I ended up doing defining like a user stories, trying to figure out how a user would navigate throughout the problem and try to like have multiple solutions based on the problem and try to overall meet the goal. So it's good to ask for users' problems, needs, frustrations, and goals too as well. So it's a little bit different. So like if you ask for users all that users' problems, needs, frustrations, and goals, it's different than the business because the business goals are going to be different than the users, and also the problem for the business is also different from the users. So you have to ask if the person that's giving you that challenge, you're gonna have to ask a lot of questions first. That way you have to define and try to like figure out the best ways you could figure out the problem first. So that's what they want you to do. They want you to grasp as much information as you could and try to do it fast. I think the limit is around like 5 minutes to like 10 minutes. So try to do that as fast as you could and try to figure out the problem and try to focus on the words from the problem. Like, let's say the company's problem is that they want easier solution. Like, ask why. Like, how would it be easier? An easier solution. Like, maybe the business is probably thinking of an easier way or easier method. Maybe they could provide you more details with that. So like they during the interview they try to limit as much information as they can because they want you to ask those questions. They want you to open up. They want you to critical think and try to think as much as you could and write down everything that you're thinking, and that way you have the next process of the design thinking ready. So after that, after you're done doing that and you have grasped everything that you felt like was able to help you ideate, so after that you ideate, you start wireframing, you start labeling, you start doing everything that you could. So a good thing to do when you're ideating is creating futures. So maybe like a calendar, maybe a drop down, maybe a CTA, maybe wording, and you could explain that while you're doing the challenge. So me, I ended up so funny thing is that at first I ended up doing it on a whiteboard, and that didn't turn out how it would. It was horrible. So I ended up after that, the second try, I ended up doing it on Figma, and it was a lot better and easier. So I recommend you guys do it on Figma if you guys could. I know it's a little different than whiteboard and a different scenario situation, but if you're doing it on Springboard and or doing it online, it's actually way better to do it on Figma. Just create an artboard and start doing your ideation there. I think it's a lot more valuable and easier for a person to see you ideating and defining there too. So if you're gonna do that like on Figma or whatever software you're gonna do, Sketch or Adobe XD, it's good to know the shortcuts. So know the shortcuts. Try to memorize the shortcuts and apply it. So like let's say Figma for R is rectangle T text, and holding option is always duplicating, and it's usually universal for all the programs, but there's some quite differences around there, and it's basically almost the same thing. But yeah, get comfortable with that, and then ideate your wireframes. So I did low fidelity wireframes, just ended up doing gray rectangle boxes, and then labeling the the structure or the features for the solution that I felt would complete the what is it, the define the problem, the goals, the user's problems, frustrations, and needs. I felt like everything ended up tying together in the end. So like after that, when you're done completing the flows and the screens that you wanted in your ideation process, and then after that, oh well, I wanted to say that while you're doing everything, you have to explain everything, what you're thinking and why you're doing it, and just talk out loud throughout the process. So after you're done doing all that, it's good in the end to summarize everything. So summarize how your ideation would solve the business problems, how it would solve the user's needs, how it would solve their, how is it like the frustrations, how would it like solve the frustrations, or how would they meet their goals, and basically just walk through the business problem, walk through the goals, walk through all the users, all the content that you wrote, walk through that with the person that's interviewing you, and then also walk through the wireframing and everything else. And that's how you end up finishing your whiteboard challenge really, really good. And you're gonna impress the person that's interviewing you. So that's mostly it for the whiteboard challenge. So that was like my experience, and that's what I strongly recommend you to do. That way you could successfully pass your whiteboard challenge on the first try. So all right, so yeah, that was a whiteboard challenge. Now let's talk about the portfolio walkthrough. So the portfolio walkthrough, so it was like a presentation of your portfolio and presentation of your case study. So there's a couple methods that you could do this. You could either create a presentation through like a slide deck, or the other one was to just present it from your actual portfolio page website. So I ended up feeling like my portfolio wasn't complete like all the way, because I have my case studies already displayed on my pages. So I just had them linked to Behance. That's a trick that you could do to finish your portfolio fastest throughout the program. But like now that I finished the program, I could go back and then make those pages and work more on my portfolio. So yeah, for the portfolio walkthrough, I ended up doing a presentation, and then I ended up rehearsing and practicing and trying to see what I was going to say, and then I ended up just like talking about it, and talking about like a business problem and how I solved it, and what the findings I got from like user testing and everything. But the problem was that my portfolio, my case study, I ended up doing one case study, and my case study was like super long. It was 40 minutes. Um, so like they want you to do maybe like two case studies for 40 minutes. So like I got deducted based on how like lengthy it was, and it could be kind of like boring because it's so lengthy that that is the reason I didn't pass like the first time. But like the second time I passed, because I made it like less lengthy, and then from there I could actually like make it way less um, long, and I felt like that I was like pretty much comfortable explaining what I did. It's just how long it was. So like if you're straight to the point and just saying out what you found, and everything that was in your case study, how was a business problem, how you solved it, and it for not to be too long either, and just minimal, I think that's more effective too. And then I would like suggest you to do some like introduction there, like about yourself and who you are and what you where you graduated. So like you graduated from Springboard or you graduated from somewhere else, and just listening to that, a little bit about yourself, and then after that, getting the person seeing the presentation, getting them more familiar for the case study after that, and then finalizing it with the conclusion is also good. So like making a summary of the whole presentation, and then overall thanking them for listening. And yeah, that's basically the portfolio walkthrough. It was it was pretty challenging because even me myself, I like to do like things like very complex and very lengthy, and it was very challenging me to delete like information because I felt like everything was valuable. But I'm able to like learn and eliminate stuff that I felt like wasn't necessary, and I felt like I did narrow down my my presentation overall, and the timing went a lot lower after that after deleting a lot of stuff. So yeah, that's my suggestion for the portfolio walkthrough. So the last one is the non-technical behavioral interview. So that one was basically situational, like name a situation where you failed. Name an instance when you failed, or what are your weaknesses, or naming something, or describing a place, or describing a situation where you had to do a lot of tasks, stuff like that. Like it could be challenging because you have to think about it in the spot, but it's also good to practice on your own and try to think of scenarios that would answer those questions. And also, you have to answer them like in a specific way that Springboard has you do it. So this is like a method that would be very effective. And I could talk about it in another video because I feel like this could be a video in itself, and it's very interesting because I actually I found it like very effective throughout the this interview process. I know like this interview like questions are very universal, and it's very effective if you answer them like this specific way. So yeah, it was it was like challenging, but like if you want to give yourself time to think about it, don't be scared not to give yourself time. So like be like, let me think about it, and just make like a pause. Like it's fine to be quiet for some time. Like it's like me, I sometimes feel like it's awkward to leave some pauses or some silences, but it's good. It's a good thing to do because you really want to think about it and give like the best answer you could. So like when they ask you a question, also for like for those questions, so for the behavioral ones, make sure that like you answer that you don't know. Like that should be the last thing that you should end up telling someone, like that you don't know, unless you don't really know what they're talking about, like the subject or topic that they're asking about. Then you should say that you don't know. But like first you should say, let me think about it, and then maybe um relate to something, be like, oh, I don't know much about, or don't say you don't know, but like say that I had a similar situation, and then just say like a different situation where you had that experience, or kind of like relate to it. So that's something I would suggest, and that's something that Springboard taught. So it's pretty cool and effective. And yeah, so yeah, those are all the three interviews that Springboard has you do, and I found them to be more challenging than I thought actually. And yeah, I felt like overall I did good, and I ended up passing all of them just in time for graduating. So I'm pretty happy about that. And yeah, so let me know if you have any questions, and leave in the comments below of what you think of these interviews, if you've done them before, if you think they're easy, if you think they're difficult, and why, and what you ended up doing different maybe would help us like know what how to do better. Like it's always good to do better in your interviews and teach others how to do better. I know it's like a competitive market, but we're all in this together. So yeah, leave in the comments below that, and then subscribe, leave a like in this video if you thought this video was informational and good for you and helpful for you. So yeah, appreciate it. For the next one, peace out.